Welcome. Scott here. I will be covering on the upcoming Event 6 Warrior Quest, Area 8 in Global. Firstly, let me give you a quick overview on the 6 Warriors quest. You can bring a party of 6 members for the quest. Each member can be equipped with their own call. For every turn, you can do a member swap. To swap a member you need to click on the swap button. You can only bring one summon and allow use one burst. No friend support will be allowed. Abilities that revive the party will affect both parties. The boss HP bar will have thresholds indicators. If you see the target icon is flashing with a red border, it means that the boss is going to do an HP attack. For those who have a full built-up roster, this is an event that you will enjoy a lot and the fun bringing a bigger party and have everyone utilize their strengths. Put a team of various utilities and this will help you in this event and future 6 warrior fights as well. Unlike Dimensions and Transcendence or Entropy, there will be no character lock. So, you do not need to worry about locking out the character for future 6 warrior quests. Let us proceed with the boss guide proper. The featured units are Cater, Galuf, Lyse, Edgar, Edward and Zell. Cater's FR and Burst will be making their debut. She will be getting her FR boards and reworks as well. Edgar will be the other featured returning FR Burst unit. All characters will be getting their level 50 Force enhancement boards. We will be fighting 2 bosses, Swarmfly and Crawlbug. Both bosses have 250 million HP each. The bosses are immune to delay from breaks. The turn requirement is 55. The HP requirements is 5000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Like most other Shinryu fights, the boss gains increased brave damage and gain resistances at start of the fight and 79% HP threshold. Bringing a support like Iris, Rem, Yuri, Rosa, Lena, Lunafreya, Charlotta, Aerith, Ramza, Garnet, Sarah, Pernello, Pain, Baldheer, Siren, or Selpha that grants damage boosting aura will make your fight easier. As the boss gains substantial boost to their defenses with the auras, it is important to inflict debuffs that lower their defenses. I have grouped the key utility in major groups. Before I continue further, do expect the fight to feature some annoying mechanics like AoE buff wipe. To handle the bulk of the mechanics, party-wide evasion holds the key utility. Weapon imperil and ignore brave damage is important at certain point in time as well. This is one of the harder 6 warrior quests that the game has to offer. This fight also has the HP gate mechanics. I will cover more details when I am going through the boss mechanics proper. Due to the buff wipe mechanics, there is an important for damage mitigation BT auras. If you have been playing the game long enough, you should accumulate a lot of them already. Examples are Galbez, Rem, Zack, Iris, Kurasame, Aerith, Cater and Yuri. Galbez, Iris, and Kurasame mitigate the damage by controlling the boss brave gains. Zack and Rem mitigate the damage by taking the damage or making the party immortal. Zack will require to maintain his lock for the strategy to work though. Galuf, a budget immortal evasion tank, excels for this function as well. Aerith will mitigate the damage if her gold-framed buff is active. However, the buff only lasts for 4 turns. So, you need to time it well if you plan to use her as the damage mitigation BT. Cater and Yuri are the only party-wide evasion BT aura. Buff evasion buffs like Redia, Edge, Leela could work here as well, but be mindful of the buzz mechanic from Swarmfly which feature guaranteed hit buff dispel mechanic. Thus, evasion aura like Cater or Yuri BT are much preferred. To prevent the boss using its nastier force ability which is a guaranteed AoE brave plus HP attack that dispel all targets buff, you need inflict ice imperil on the boss. For ice elemental attackers, you consider using Cater, Karasame, Lunafreya, Celis, or Onion Knight. To cancel the boss force time, you need to use an Ice Elemental FR. Enchanting a non-elemental FR does not work to cancel the boss force time, so you need to use either Cater or Karasame FR to cancel the force time. The Crawl Bug boss will gain the red aura at the start of the fight, 69% and 29% HP threshold. The red aura will lower all elemental brave damage by 90% except for ice elemental brave damage. It will use a charged blast plus, which is a very powerful single target double HP attack. You need to let the boss use the attack to remove the aura. To handle it, you can either control its brave gains with freeze mechanics or evade the attack. At the 89%, 49%, and 19% HP thresholds, the boss will use Wallop Plus, which cleanses all debuffs, dispel its targeted unit buffs followed by a single target brave plus HP attack. As this dispel mechanic is not guaranteed hit, you can either evade the attack or tank it with the damage mitigation BT aura that I have mentioned. The Swarm Fly will gain a blue aura when its HP depleted to 89%, 49%, and 19% HP threshold. The boss will raise its defense by 300% along with a 500k brave shield. To handle the defense stats boost, you need to use Ignore Brave Damage or Brave Cap Damage. To remove the blue aura, you will also need to inflict Weapon Imperil and deal weapon weakness damage on the boss. Edgar, the featured FRBT unit, can inflict all form of weapon imperil with his LD. You can inflict melee imperil with Orin, ranged imperil with Fran or Irvine, or magic imperil with Hope. Do take note that Terra FR also inflicts magic imperil. Orin, Fran, Irvine, and Hope can be used as calls. If you do not inflict weapon imperil or let the fly axe while the blue aura is active, it will use Buzz, which cleans all debuffs on the bosses and dispel all your party buffs. The dispel mechanic is a guaranteed hit mechanic that will bypass evasion mechanic. My other recommendation units you can consider bringing for the fight are Kelger, Astos, Quina, Setzer, Weiss and Ruby Conte. If you do not have any Ice FR like Cater or Karasame, it is advisable to use a fast charging summon or using a FR charger BT phase to charge your gauge. The boss force time has some nasty effects that restrict your buffs and debuffs to 1 turn duration. As we are no longer have Lufania Plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. If your party has low force levels, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. Throughout the fight, when your party members act, the boss force gauge charge rate will increase by 4%. Whenever the boss party acts, the force gauge will gain 2% charge rate up. The boss party will also apply an aura field effect that lowers your party attack and defense by 80%. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. At the 100% gauge threshold, the Crawl Bug will use the Force ability. The variant of the Force ability will depend on whether you have inflicted Ice Imperil on the boss. If you have not inflicted Ice Imperil, the boss will use Unclean Breath ++, which is a guaranteed hit AoE Brave plus HP attack that will also dispel all your party buff. If you have inflicted the boss with Ice Imperil, it will use Unclean Breath +, which is an AoE Brave plus HP attack. Upon using the Force ability, the boss will enter into its force time where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with a counter of 10 on its gauge. When the force time is activated, both bosses will gain an enhancement. The boss will heal 100% of the HP damage received. While the force time is active, your party buffs and debuffs inflict will be restricted to 1 turn duration. It is very disruptive and highly recommended that you do not let the boss activates its force time unless you have means to cancel it. Dealing the force weakness will cancel the boss force time. Upon dealing the force weakness, the boss will lower brave damage resistance against ice element. This will help a lot in removing the brave shield mechanics from Swarm Fly's blue aura mechanics. To do that, you need to deal ice brave damage on the boss. In the game, there are only 2 FR that can meet this condition. They are Kater and Kurasame. If you do not have them, it is important to activate your force time before the boss activate their force time. Make use of your burst phase or summon phase to charge the gauge. On this slide, you will see a quick overview of the HP gate and the key mechanics. Generally, the HP gates are tied to the activation of the red aura by Crawl Bug and blue aura by the Swarm Fly. Before I continue further, let us recap on what is a HP gate. An HP gate is the point where you cannot lower the enemy HP any lower until the mechanic is met. The gate will only be removed after you allow the boss to act and use the correspondence attack. The HP gates are set for the Crawl Bug at the 69% and 29% HP thresholds. The HP gates are set for the Swarm Fly at the 89%, 49%, and the 19% HP thresholds. The Crawl Bug will activate its red aura with dark power rising at the start of the fight, 89% and 19% HP threshold. The aura activation will be trigger only if you are not in your summon phase or burst phase. As the boss need to remove the red aura by using Charged Blast Plus, the aura will not trigger if the boss is under Do Not Act status. Avoid using Celtius or Papalymo BT as you could end up soft locking the boss and the activation will trigger after your gold frame debuffs have lapsed. Generic turn disable utility are still useful here if you need to stall time though. The Swarm Fly will activate its blue aura with Angry when its HP drop to the 89%, 49%, and 19% HP threshold. The aura activation will not trigger while you are in your burst or summon phase. But unlike the Crawl Bug, the aura will still activate if the boss is under turn disable status. You will need to remove the blue aura by dealing weapon weakness brave damage and remove its shield with ignore defense brave damage utility. Due to HP gate mechanics and nasty force time effects, most players use their burst phase to charge the force gauge. The general strategy is after you have activated your FR phase, chain your FR echoes while removing the HP gates one by one. The boss don't have a big pool HP but you need to be mindful of the buff dispel or debuff cleansing mechanics thresholds. Before I proceed to talk about the aura threshold mechanics, let me give you a quick overview of the boss basic moveset. Unlike most boss fights, the mechanics used by the boss are randomized. Let us start off with the Swarm Fly. If its brave is at least 110% of its initial brave, the boss could unleash its Venom Bite single target HP attack. The attack has 60% chance of inflicting a 5-turn poison. It can use Poison Hit Plus, which is a single melee target brave attack that inflicts 3-turn poison and 3-turn 30% speed down debuff. When it is targeting all, it will use Powder Stream Plus. Powder Stream Plus will cause the Swarm Fly to reset its break status, gain brave that equates to 50% of its initial brave followed by an AoE magic HP attack. Now, let us focus on its partner in crime, the Crawl Bug. All the moveset used by Crawl Bug are HP attacks. They do not have high brave potencies but they will hurt a lot if your party buffs are dispelled though. If its brave is at least 110% of its initial brave, the boss could unleash Stab, a single target melee HP attack. It can also use Tail Cutter Plus, which allows the boss to reset its break status followed by a single target magic brave plus HP attack. If it is targeting all, it will use Reaper Plus, which is reset break status, followed by an AoE melee brave plus HP attack. With the basic moveset covered, let us focus on the aura mechanics. The Crawl Bug has 2 threshold mechanics, the Dark Power Rising, or Red Aura mechanic and the Wallop plus debuff cleansing mechanic. All its attacks aren't guaranteed hit, so evasion will hold the keys of handling the mechanics that are triggered from the thresholds. The boss will activate dark powers rising at the start of the fight, 69% and 29% HP threshold. It will gain a red aura and gains 90% brave damage resistance against all elements except for ice. On its following turn, it will use Charged Blast Plus. Charged Blast Plus is a double single target brave plus HP attack. With its brave hits and HP attack ignore brave and HP nullifications. To survive this attack, you can either evade its attack or control its brave gains with freeze mechanic or brave control mechanics. After using Charged Blast Plus, the boss will trigger Calm Down, which will remove the red aura. Do note that you will need to let the boss to activate the red aura, otherwise you cannot remove the HP gate at the 69% and 29% HP threshold. Once its HP dropped to the 89%, 49%, and 19% HP threshold, the boss will trigger Wallop Plus. Upon triggering, the boss will cleanse the boss party of all debuffs and dispel the targeted unit's buffs, followed by a single target brave plus HP attack. You can evade buff dispel mechanic with generic evasion like Rydia, Edge, Leela, or having Galuf to do his cover and evade counters. Yuri and Kader BT Aura also works well here. If you cannot evade, you can tank this attack with Brave Control utility with the use of Iris, Kurasame, or Galbez BT. Likewise, you can choose to tank the attack with Rem Immortal BT Aura. Now let us focus on the aura mechanics for the Swarm Fly. As mentioned earlier, the Swarm Fly has 3 HP gates at the 89%, 49%, and 19% HP threshold. When its HP has reached those thresholds, it will activate its Angry Aura, where it gains a blue aura which boosts its defense by 300% and 500k Brave Shield. To remove the aura, you need to deal Weapon Weakness Brave damage. To ensure you can do Weapon Weakness Brave damage on the boss, you need to remove the 500k Brave Shield first. Due to the high defensive aura gains by the bosses, to remove the Brave Shield, you need to either use Ignore Brave Damage utility or deal Rainbow Brave Cap damage. Generally, Ignore Brave Damage utility works better against shields. Examples of units that provide Ignore Brave Damage utility are Edgar, Beatrix, Orin, Zack, Sid Reigns, or Locke. To deal Weapon Imperil weakness, you need to inflict Weapon Imperil debuff followed by a corresponding Brave attack that deals the Brave damage. For example, after you have inflicted Orin melee Imperil Brave damage, you need to remove the Brave Shield and deal melee Brave damage to meet the condition. Upon meeting the condition, you will trigger the Calm Down condition. Edgar offers all 3 types of weapons Imperil. However, for this to work, Edgar needs to be used in the party. If you have not clear Shiva Spiritus, make sure you get his LD, otherwise you need to collect other types of weapons Imperil to handle that toxic stage. For melee Imperil, you can use Orin. For ranged Imperil, you can use Irvine or Fran. For magic Imperil, you can use Hope or Tira FR. Make sure when you apply the weapon Imperil, you do not lower the Crawl Bug HP to trigger Wallop Plus threshold, otherwise, your Weapon Imperil debuff application will be applied for naught. If you are unable to apply the Weapon Imperil debuff and let the Swarm Fly act with the blue aura active, it will trigger Buzz, which will cleanse all debuffs from the boss party and dispel all your party buffs. Unlike most buff dispel mechanics, this dispel mechanic is guaranteed hit. To survive the onslaught from the subsequent boss turns, you will need to make use of the damage mitigation BT auras like Rem, Yuri, Kader, Iris, Kurasame or Galbez. With this, I have covered a quick overview of the boss fight. Now let us proceed to talk about the featured FRBT unit Kader. Before I end the guide, let us cover a bit on the featured FR unit, Kader. Kader has gained a rework on her attacks, having more HP dumps. Her S1 lock has been upgraded to 6 turns. She is also one of the rare units that can solo Shinryu. She is also our first evasion tank that have FR charging mechanics. You can charge the gauge with spamming her S2. Do take note that her S2 does not give 100% evasion unless you use her AA. So, Save her free skill uses for A unless you have her BT aura. She is a very valuable unit if you are intending to do the Yellow Crystal quest. Let us start off with her FR conditions. Upon using her FR ability, Cater will deal an AoE Ice Magic Brave plus HP attack and grant herself her charge and dodge buff for 8 turns. During her force time, the party will be enchanted with Ice Element. If your party is doing Weakness Brave damage, you will gain the following auras: 30% HP damage up and 30% max Brave cap up. Now let me cover on her FR conditions. 1. Evade an attack will get you 50% HP damage bonus. Cater has lock and evasion mechanics with her base kit. Make sure you get her double cursed artifacts so you have plenty skill uses for them. Her BT aura also gives the party evasion aura, which will allow you to meet this condition a lot easier. 2. Using an ice ability will get you 5% HP damage bonus. This also applies to off-turn damage. Cater counters upon evading an attack. You can abuse this condition with ice or non-elemental follow-up or traps attacks. Generally, the FR condition is an off-turn FR. I will not recommend you to get Cater if you don't have the intent to go all in to get her BT aura. On a side, this is one of the 2 FR in the game that is locked to the ice element. The other one is Karasame if you are not aware of it. Let us cover on her BT. Her BT is an AoE Magic Brave plus HP attack. Like most BT, the aura will provide aura boost for the party. The party will gain 50% Brave damage up, 20% HP damage up, and raises Brave damage cap by 50% and max Brave cap by 30%. Most importantly, the party will get 100% evasion if the BT aura is active. While the BT aura is active, Cater will trigger an additional counter. So, should I pull for Cater? In my opinion, she is a very nice unit for off-turn setups and great for Yellow Crystal quest. She can solo a reasonable amount of Shinryu provided that the boss does not absorb ice or have lots of guaranteed hit attacks. With this, I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. FRN. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight in the coming days. Bye.